Dans le ciel new-yorkais, c'est elle qui s'impose depuis son inauguration en 2014. Son nom officiel, World Trade Center numéro 1, son surnom Freedom Tower, la tour de la liberté. 541 mètres de haut, 1776 pieds, 1776, comme l'année de l'indépendance américaine. Le gratte-ciel est censé incarner l'esprit de résilience et de résistance de la ville. À sa base, 2 gigantesques bassins en lieu et place des anciennes tours jumelles. Y sont gravés les noms des victimes des attentats, ceux du 26 février 1993, mais aussi et surtout du 11 septembre 2001. Des morts dont le patronyme est paré d'une rose blanche le jour de leur anniversaire. L'identité de cette survivante ne figure pas sur les stèles extérieures, mais on la trouve à l'intérieur du mémorial, à côté de ses chaussures. Elle les avait achetées un peu avant le 11 septembre, une journée radieuse jusqu'à cet instant.
All of a sudden there was a loud boom, and I worked 97 stories up in the South Tower of the World Trade Center, and there was flames and smoke and papers flying in the air. People started to scream. We didn't know what was happening, so I stood up to take a look from my cubicle, and I faced the North Tower, and there was a wave of heat that came over us that was like opening up an oven door. I got pulled back into the crowd that was exiting, and at that point I think I had taken off my shoes because I knew that I would not make it down 97 stories in a pair of heels. I got down to maybe about the 70th floor when there was a loud sound overhead, like a train was above me, and the building started to rock back and forth and back and forth. And I shut my eyes and I remember screaming like I've never screamed in my life, and thinking that this was it and everything was going to be over. I remember putting my hands down in my face, just thinking, my God, what had happened? In a way, a part of me never came home after that day. I changed, and there was something that I left here. And here is some physical evidence of that. And for me, many of my friends and coworkers are still here. So it's a way for me to be with them.
20 ans après, on voit encore quelques échafaudages au World Trade Center. Une salle de spectacle doit voir le jour ici, en 2023. La reconstruction urbanistique est quasiment achevée. La construction physique et psychologique, quant à elle, tarde pour de nombreux survivants. Des survivants oubliés avec le temps, contraints de devoir gérer un corps et une tête qui, eux, n'ont rien oublié. Deux demi-journées par semaine, Richard a sa consultation médicale. Le 11 septembre 2001, il était ce qu'on appelle un first responder, un intervenant d'urgence. Pompier, il a aidé sans compter. Mais ce qu'il a inhalé ce jour-là et les suivants explique son interminable liste de maladies.
What I'm here is, I come here to get my blood cleaned out for heavy metals that I had obtained at 9/11. I had a lot of lead and cadmium in my blood. A few. All right, I have GERD, interstitial lung disease, pulmonary fibrosis, COPD, asthma. I have a heart condition. I had 2 heart attacks from it. I have spots on my lungs. I don't know the proper medical term, but it's the asbestos is causing a lining over my lungs, which restricts. It's my life, but I cherish every minute I have with family, friends, nature. I thought I was humble before. This really humbles you. You appreciate life.
How are you?
Good morning.
Good. Good to see you. How are you feeling today?
Selon ses médecins, Richard n'en a plus pour très longtemps à vivre. Des 82 000 $ obtenus du fonds d'indemnisation des victimes, il lui reste peu. La faute à ses nombreux problèmes physiques. Son assurance santé, elle, ne couvre pas toutes les dépenses.
I don't get paid for probably over half of what we do together. But I told him, and he's worried about me. He comes and sits down with me, and he's worried that I'm not going to get. And I say to him, I don't care. I don't really, like there's certain things I can't do that for everybody.
Une fois la consultation à Manhattan achevée, Richard rentre chez lui à Long Island. 2 heures de trajet minimum à chaque fois. À pied, en train et en voiture, éprouvant pour l'ancien pompier, vu son état physique. Richard dit ne pas avoir trouvé de médecin aussi attentionné plus près de chez lui. Il a fait le calcul aussi. Prendre la voiture est plus coûteux, et ce n'est pas tout.
I have a lot of stuff a lot of information I've forgotten. Sometimes I'll be driving and I don't know where I am. And I'll be looking, trying to get the sense of where I am, which direction I'm going in. And it's frustrating. It's scary. I'm always on the watch on the phone, and I'll put notes in there where I'm going, and I cannot remember a lot of things. When I first met you, it took so long to get your name down because I just don't retain it. Where I used to be like a sponge. So if you told me a bunch of numbers for me to repeat it is almost impossible.
Révolté par leur sort, John Field a créé une fondation pour coaliser les premiers intervenants. Il y a 20 ans, il a perdu lui-même un pied lors des travaux de déblaiement. L'accident s'est produit plus de 96 heures après l'attaque, ne donnant droit à aucune aide financière. Incroyable, après 10 semaines d'hôpital, 2 ans de psychothérapie et 3 ans de rééducation physique. Sous l'impulsion de cet ancien ouvrier du bâtiment, une loi d'indemnisation a été votée en 2010. Pour que les crédits continuent d'être votés, il se rend régulièrement à Washington avec ses troupes et met une pression constante sur tous les responsables politiques.
I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. We're talking about human life. We're talking about suffering. So I didn't care what your ideologies were. I didn't care what you had for dinner the next day. I didn't care who your favorite ball team was. I just cared if you were going to help support 9/11 heroes and survivors and volunteers. That's all I cared about.
Would you define yourself as a lobbyist?
No. Lobbyists are paid. Lobbyists are paid by one side to attack the other side. Lobbyists are paid by special interest groups to ensure that something gets done for that one side.
John a fait ériger ce mémorial des premiers intervenants tout près de chez lui à Long Island. Son bébé, comme il le surnomme. Si l'on vient jusqu'ici, selon lui, loin de Manhattan et de ses festivités, c'est uniquement pour se recueillir, pour honorer une fraternité de combat dont les membres disparaissent année après année. Ce jour-là, nous y retrouvons Richard, l'ancien pompier, compagnon de route de John, Un homme sans l'implication duquel sa vie serait, à l'entendre, bien différente.
No, financially, I'd be broke. I lost my job. I lost my retirement investments. Would I be alive? I don't know. All I know is that 2.5 years ago, they said I had 3 to 5 years to live, possibly. Who knows what's going to happen? And if it wasn't for those treatments, I know for a fact I wouldn't be here today. And then when COVID hit, I had to stop treatments, and now things have grown and are coming back. So going back to treatment, which is covered through our healthcare bill that the Feel Good Foundation had fought for, is now helping me out again.
Il faut retourner à Manhattan pour comprendre les conditions d'indemnisation des victimes. Le législateur est parti de l'idée suivante. Si la ville a été frappée dans son ensemble, certains quartiers l'ont été davantage que d'autres. Seuls les survivants qui, à l'époque, se trouvaient dans un triangle bordé au nord par cette rue, Canal Street, se sont vus proposer une aide financière et des soins, mais des soins uniquement physiques. Linda, la femme aux chaussures ensanglantées, qui vit ici dans le New Jersey, le confirme. Le 11 septembre 2001, elle a perdu 86 collègues et amis, mais elle n'a eu aucun dommage physique, donc aucune indemnisation.
I guess what I've come to realize is that I was fortunate enough to be able to go back to work and take care of myself and my family financially on my own, and didn't need that financial help, so to speak. Part of me going back to work was because I didn't get financial help too, so it's a double-edged sword there.
Mais si Linda n'a pas de séquelles physiques, son corps n'est pas complètement en paix. Elle souffre de ce qu'on appelle les SSPT, syndrome de stress post-traumatique. Durant les mois qui ont suivi les attentats, elle n'a pas pu retourner travailler. Elle a fait appel à un thérapeute pendant un temps, puis a arrêté les séances. Il y a 10 ans, elle a eu besoin d'en consulter un à nouveau. Jamais médicamentée, il lui arrive encore de sentir des tremblements, mais dans l'ensemble, ça va mieux. Selon ce psychologue clinicien, toutes les victimes n'avancent pas à la même vitesse. Loin de là. Cela fait 4 ans que Scott Bartels suit une thérapie ici.
Good afternoon, Scott.
Hey, Doc, how you
Good to
doing?
see you.
Nice
Hi,
to see you
Lauren.
too.
Good to see
Il
you
montait
again.
et réparait des appareils de chauffage quand les attentats ont bouleversé sa vie.
Come on, over here.
All right.
Lay down.
All right. People like yourself who survived 9/11, you had to push down your feelings for so many years, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about this. You had to bury those feelings, and now they come up to the surface more.
I'm up every night at 3 o'clock. I could go to bed at 12, I'm up at 3. I could go to bed at 2, I'm up at 3. And then from 3, I'm up all the time. I'm still
That's
fighting with that
rough.
insomnia. I see planes like flying over the city, and then in the back of my head, I'm like, when one of these things is going to blow up again? When's it going to hit the Freedom Tower? When's it going to hit this? So I'll sit out there, and then I'll go back inside.
What do you think you could try to say to yourself that might be a little more soothing and
It ain't going to happen.
but maybe there's room for you to say to yourself, in the present, you know, great, the planes are flying again. Great, people are traveling again.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe that you could try to now in the present say those kind of
I
things
could
to yourself?
try.
You could try.
You know how I was before. I didn't like crowds. I'll never get on the subway, especially with all the shit's going on now. But she'll tell me like she wants to go out. Like she loves to dance. So like she wants to go out where there's a dance environment. And I always have that shit in the back of my mind. Something's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna pull out a gun. Somebody's gonna crash with a car.
Yeah.
And she tells me, you gotta stop thinking like that. but it's always in the back of my heart, and it's always in the back of my mind.
Yes.
That with the post-traumatic, you're always looking around. You're always on point. You're trying to see what's going on.
Of course.
And it's weird, and after a while, it gets tiring because you're always looking around. You're always,
We're talking so much about threats to yourself. In terms of first responders, there were well over 100,000 first responders, and there are some estimates that 10 to 20% still have PTSD. In terms of survivors, because it was such an act of terrorism for the whole city, for the whole nation, of course, the whole world, there may be hundreds of thousands of people who had some form of PTSD during the 9/11 period, and we do expect about 10% of those to still have some ongoing symptoms.
Cette spécialiste en syndrome post-traumatique l'assure, d'autres victimes du 11 septembre présentent parfois des pathologies encore plus handicapantes.
I had a patient who was a tour guide at the World Trade Center, and she was about to hit the button of the elevator just as the plane came into the building. She can't go in elevators anymore. And this lasted for years because she associated that she pushing the button was associated with the plane coming to the tower. And she knows it's not rational, but she can't push an elevator button now. Maybe she can get in it if someone else pushes it, but she won't push a button.
À la fin de sa consultation, Scott nous convie chez lui. Il vit dans le sud du Queens, un des quartiers de New York.
In half a mile, at the roundabout, take the third exit.
Ce ne sont pas ces tours datant des années 60 qui font la gloire de Rockaway Beach, mais ces 9 kilomètres de plage. Ce qui surprend d'emblée ici, c'est l'incessant balai d'avions. L'aéroport John Fitzgerald Kennedy est à 7 km à vol d'oiseau, étonnant lieu de vie pour Scott que la vue d'un avion en vol continue de terrifier.
I don't know if it's part of the therapy to live next to an airport. This is where I chose to live before 9/11. And I love the beach. I'm a beach person. I surf. I love riding my bike. I love just laying in the ocean. I wasn't going to pick up and move just because I live by an airport. I wasn't going to let the so-called terrorists, the terrorists that blew up my city, dictate to me where I was going to live. You have to stand up, for something,
Scott a désormais un objectif, retourner au World Trade Center. Ce serait une première depuis 20 ans. Il espère ainsi gagner en sérénité et apaiser les tensions avec sa fiancée. Richard, lui, n'en est pas là. Son état physique et psychique complique son rapport aux autres. Ses réactions vont parfois jusqu'à irriter sa belle-mère et son beau-père. Sa femme, quant à elle, déplore une aggravation continue de leur lien.
He and you almost are going through your experiences separate because yours is a little different than mine. He's worrying about his health, his getting through this, getting angry at times, frustrated at times, all the things that he used to be able to do, not being able to. So his experiences he's dealing with on his own. Now I'm dealing with how am I going to support this person, but yet the anger or the sadness, the depression comes in on my side because now my life, as I knew it, is changing.
À l'évocation de sa vie d'avant, Norma Hardy répond Laquelle? Cette ancienne policière chargée de la sécurité du World Trade Center est 2 fois miraculée. Elle a échappé aux attaques du 11 septembre 2001 et celle, un peu oubliée, du 26 février 1993. Son combat est de parler des deux, sans distinction.
I want the world to know. I don't want them to forget. And I think that's my purpose, that I've made for myself, is to make sure that no one forgets. No one forgets the attacks of 1993. No one forgets the attacks of 2000, because people do forget that this was not the original attack right here in New York. And that's very important to me. That's why I speak on both of them. And the fact that I feel like I'm basically, it's a miracle that I'm here to talk to you about either one of them. So I think that's the way I deal with my trauma. And hopefully me doing that helps other people be able to relate and deal with their trauma that they're dealing with.
Norma Hardy ne sait pas encore si elle participera à nouveau aux cérémonies commémoratives. Celle du 21 septembre 2021 coïncide avec le retrait total des soldats américains d'Afghanistan. Une opération militaire en représailles aux attaques du World Trade Center et dont la fin est diversement saluée par les survivants.
I love my country, but I don't think they really follow through with everything. They go in, get the bad guy out, then they leave. Now there's 30 other bad guys that want to take the same position that the bad guy that got taken out want to do, You just got to think everything through. You just, I don't know. It's, I'm not a politician, but you got to do something to stop all the shit,
War isn't the answer to anything. And it's upsetting to see these young men and women coming home and having issues that I had and worse. And it's not only Americans. There's soldiers from all over the world. There's people living in Afghanistan. They don't hate Americans. It's not a hatred thing. It's a political thing going on. And I hope the war comes to an end and we can have a good, peaceful life amongst countries and humanity and compassion back in place.
Listen, I served in the military. They trained me to kill. We should never be in countries we're not welcomed. We should never be in countries where we force our beliefs and ideologies on others who have lived a certain way thousands of years, way before we even got here.
I think our presence there has gone on too long. And I'm concerned about the people that are going to be left behind that have helped us all these years and what will happen to them. That's what I'm most concerned about with this. I'm happy to see the troops that were there coming home.
Combien seront ces soldats qui, une fois revenus, peineront, comme les survivants du World Trade Center, à retrouver une vie normale? Combien sont-ils, ces civils, derrière leurs fenêtres, à souffrir encore des conséquences du 11 septembre 2001? 20 ans après les attentats, l'Amérique doit ouvrir les yeux et reconnaître que parmi ces héros, certains demeurent fragiles, qui tentent, comme ils le peuvent, de reconstruire un petit bout d'eux-mêmes, quotidiennement, sans bruit ni publicité.